To be honest, I don't know how to charge this without shooting it.
And I fell. Bounties. But he's dead for right now, so he's gonna leave us alone now.
Alright, well, if I kill you, it's not my fault.
I don't believe that for a minute.
Oh, my armistice zone privileges are revoked.
No, it looked like I got hit by my own ship when I was getting out of the seat.
Another NPC. Yep, he's dead. Oh, no, he ran away. Hello and welcome everybody. I'm Dark Hour 717 and welcome to another episode of State of the Verse, where we go over the latest and greatest news from the Star Citizen universe. Not a whole lot from sources this week, but definitely a lot of good information and some surprising information that caught everybody off guard to some degree. And obviously no roadmap roundup this week, no Star Citizen Live again because of CitizenCon. They've gone into super secret quiet mode. So we're going to go over what information did come out. Obviously we're a day or so late. I apologize about that, but hey, real life. Sometimes you got to manage other commitments, but definitely we're going to go over everything here today and get you all caught up. Okay, so as usual, we are joined this week again by Jay Scale, one of our co-hosts, and he has come back from surviving a wedding. How did it all go for you, man?
Hot, buggy, tired.
I think that's probably one of the better ways a wedding can go, because usually it turns into a fiasco in some degree or another. And of course, we also have a special guest this week, Sage Parvel from Macaire Mining and Reclamation, one of members of an org that joins us multiple times on stream. I'm sure you guys have seen him. And welcome, Sage. Great to see you.
Hey, it's great to be here.
So, honestly, this week, like I said, not a whole lot of information came out from the different sources. Some of the sources got cut because of CitizenCon, which we all know is on October 9th. It's going to be digital this year, so you'll be able to check out a number of different live events as well as pre-recorded events, and that's kind of what killed Star Citizen Live this week, as their need to go through and do recordings for that. But 314... still about the same. No real big change over the last week. No new bugs that we ran into. But we did get the currency hotfix. Now, that was a problem that we saw after Xenothreat, where people were missing upwards of millions of dollars of AUEC that they had earned. They'd log in, it just disappeared. The hotfix was released just over a week ago, and it was able to return some of that AUEC to some people, while others were not able to get as much or any of it recovered. So that definitely was an issue, but I'd say from the people I've seen, about 60-70% were able to recover some degree of the money. Of course, we also had Talk Like a Pirate Day this week. That started on the 17th of September and ran through, and also a special ship sale with Drake. So hopefully everybody got to take advantage of that. Many Drake ships on sale, including the concept ships like the Corsair and the Vulture. Of course, no Kraken. Didn't get to see the capital ships on that. That ended as of today. So hopefully everybody got a chance to grab the ships that they wanted for that. And that led right into our Ship Showdown sale, which the Ship Showdown sale is actually a free fly event. They also have all the ships that are in the Ship Showdown available for sale right now in the game. Free fly event is going to provide you with a C2, 600i, MPUV, and also the MSR. Yes. And also provide you with the MSR, which are the 4 semifinalists in the ship. So if you're not in Star Citizen, you can get in on the free fly, get those 4 ships to fly, and use those in the meantime to check everything out throughout the verse. Now, if you're already in the game, you can actually go to the website, which I'll put a link in the comments below. You can get a code, put that in, and they will give you those 4 ships to fly between now and the end of the free fly, which is, I believe, the end of the 27th. Of this month. And then also with that, they have some discounted starter packages, which are going to be the Aurora MR as well as the Mustang. and those are going to be $5 off. So you can get those starter packages starting at $40 for either one of those two packages. Now, as far as the ship showdown, this was a bit surprising, I think, for some. I know to some degree me, as far as the current state of it. In round 2, we saw that the C2 defeated the Reclaimer, 600i defeated the Retaliator, the MSR defeated the Saber, and surprisingly, the little MPUV defeated the Carrack, and has moved on and is currently battling it out with the C2. And as of the time of this recording, the MPUV is actually up by about 390 votes over the C2. And we got 16 and a half hours left for voting. But actually, Jaysco, you found some interesting information out on that.
Yeah, there are different groups out there, different streamers and whatnot that are doing different things to kind of entice people to vote for the MPUV. One group over in SC Leaks is raising money for charity. So each round the MPUV goes through, they're going to donate. I forget what the amount is, but for every level they'll donate, say, $100 to the American Red Cross or whatever charity that they've chosen.
I think, personally, I don't have a problem with that. It'll all go into a charity and all that if it's for the right cause. Take the little ship all the way through. I mean, I want to see the MPUV win anyways. But if they're doing it for charity, I don't mind the fact that they're going to throw the numbers off if it means giving money to a good cause. What's your guys' take on that?
I think it's a good cause. The ship showdown really, some people have strong feelings about certain ships, but most of what you're voting for is to get a special skin for your ship, right? Like this year, the 4 finalists get, the best in show skin or paint. And so then
they've all got that.
And then owners will all get a what do you call it?
The
a
leather
manufacturer
jacket.
themed, leather jacket in game. So,
yeah,
that's what we're voting for.
Yeah, I mean, at this point right now, the Hercules, the MPUV, MSR, and the 600i have all reached that point where they're going to get that skin. And they're also going to get that leather jacket. Of course, the overall winner, I believe you said earlier today, it's a backpack.
Yeah, they said a special themed backpack, since I guess it goes with 315.
That'll be interesting. But I mean, again, it's for a good cause, so I have a little difficulty being upset about that because, I'm all for helping other people out that are in need. So if the numbers get a little skewed because of that, hey, it's for the right reason.
Yeah, to me, it's all about good fun, and at this point, like, I'm a Carrack owner. I love the Carrack, and I voted for the Argo Cargo. I don't know. I like it was funny the way it got started, and the Carracks won in the past. I don't think any ship so far has gotten knocked out that like really deserved to be in the top 4. That didn't have an opportunity to be in the top 4 before. I mean, at this point, C2 Hercules is getting its skin. And I think it'd be fun to just see the cargo go all the way.
Oh, yeah, definitely be fun. And if you think about it, as far as the majority of the ships, minus, things like the Reclaimer, most of those other ships that have been in it already have other skins available for it. The 600i does not, unless you go up to the Navium, concierge level, which is obviously not going to be something you can just, decide you're going to do one day and do it. But the MPUV doesn't have any other skin. But the C2, the the C2 and the MSR have multiple other skins that you can get through the pledge store, and eventually we'll probably see more in game. But even the Retaliator's got them. The Carrack's got, obviously, its 2 variants, as well as some other possible skins coming down the line in the future. So it'd be interesting to see how far it will go, and possibly even see an MPUV in something other than orange.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to seeing something other than orange. Though I did see a meme the other day where they had painted all the other top 4 ships in orange, and the Argo Cargo was just its default skin.
I want a Star Kitten MPUV. That's what I want.
Oh God.
I would fly a Star Kitten. I'm not afraid.
Come on, you give it the Star Kitten paint, get a couple of little ears to put on the front cockpit, be all good to go.
Add the cape and the crown, and you got it.
There you go. So, yeah, I am rooting for the Argo cargo to take it all too. Even more so now that I know that there's people trying to do it for charity as well too. So I'm even more behind it now. So and then aside from that, like we mentioned, no roadmap roundup, no Star Citizen Live, but a lot of great information on Insight Star Citizen. I'm gonna let Jay Skell you take this one and kind of get us started on this because it was all about inventory.
Yeah, the week prior to that was all about medical. Then they did the inventory. Yeah, I think it was a bit light, but with CitizenCon coming, they we'll find out this week actually what they're going to start talking about at CitizenCon because they plan on delivering like schedules of different events, whatnot is going on this Friday. But
It's got to be the shortest video I've seen Richard in.
yeah, it was fast, which was surprising. All right, so basically, inventory is going to be localized. The big changes, localized inventory, which means just whatever's with you in that location. They broke it down into several different locations. So the primary location will be your landing zone / home residence. That'll serve as two things, right? It'll be when you log into 315. Home residence will be something that you choose when you log into 315 for the first time, and that will be the place where you regenerate if you die. But it will also be the default location where your hangar items go. So if anything that comes from the pledge store, things that you are rewarded or whatnot, all that stuff goes to your default residence, basically your default landing zone. But then if say your default landing zone is New Babbage, you land in Lorville because you're over there buying something. You only have access to whatever is with you, your ship, and whatever is in Lorville. You won't have whatever you have over in New Babbage.
Right.
So that the next level down from landing zone / home residence would be vehicle inventory. And the interesting thing about this is, I think that the gun racks and certain things will still be interactable, but the inventory aspect of it will be a general inventory screen, just like a box that opens up that simulates lockers, gun racks, and other storage that would be on the ship, and it'll be dictated. The size of that inventory will be dictated by the size of the ship you're on. So, like, a character's going to have more capacity to store stuff in that generic inventory box than say a Titan.
Yeah.
The other thing, just backtracking real fast, home residence landing zone. It'll be your largest inventory space, but it will not be unlimited. They did say that. They didn't give an idea of how much you can actually cram in there, though.
So 1900 FS9s might be a little trouble finding storage for.
Yeah, but it was in some sort of weird like micro SCU or something. The little measurement, I don't remember what it was, but anyway, after vehicle inventory, they had a thing called external inventory, which was basically any box that's outside. It could be a box, it could be like a loot box, it could be a corpse, it could be like the external personal storage. They were showing that off of the gold standard Gladius. I don't know if you're familiar or if you remember, there was all those different little hatches you can open up. One of them was storage. In the video, they showed that.
Yeah, in the front right, it's got the gun rack too.
Yeah. And then the last inventory is personal inventory, which is basically stuff that can be attached to your character. So clothing, armor, and backpacks.
Right.
Backpacks are a big thing. They're releasing more backpacks with 315. They've separated backpacks from armor sets now, so you can mix and match armor with different backpacks. However, there are limits to it. Light armor can only have light backpacks. Medium armor can have light and medium backpacks, and then heavy can do all three.
Yeah.
So there's going to be classifications of different backpacks. Not really sure how we'll know, but. And then the global inventory, so that you can see where all of your stuff is. So if you're in Lorville and you're looking for a cooler that you bought, but you're not seeing it, you go into knickknack. Sorry, all the previous inventory stuff that I was just talking about will be through personal inner thought. And then the global inventory manager is called knickknacks, and that'll be through your mobiGlass. So you can go to your mobiGlass, and then it's a kind of a hierarchical looking menu system where you go by planet and then moon and location at those different celestial bodies, I guess.
Yeah, it'll give you the ability to find something you're looking for if you forgot where you put it.
Yeah. Those were that was the quick rundown of really what they went over in the video. There wasn't a ton more to kind of roll through. They talked about a few things here and there. You know, with this isn't the full physicalized inventory, but we learned in the previous video that when you die, if you take so much damage that you actually died rather than going into a down state, or you're in a situation where you don't feel like waiting for someone to try to come rescue you, or you're just hopeless that nobody's going to come rescue you, you can choose to regenerate. You will leave a lootable corpse behind.
Yeah, which includes all your gear that you got in a backpack or armor or anything like that. One thing that we're looking at with this, with the inventory, and then last week we're talking about the medical, is this is going to be huge. I mean, this is going to affect everybody in multiple different ways across the entire verse, and by themselves, they're huge changes. But now we're putting them both into one patch. This is probably going to be one of the biggest changes we've seen at one shot within the verse. What is your guys' opinion about how it's going to affect things? Do you think that you're getting the impression that they've got it locked down, that it may be fairly smooth, or are you going to get in and expect that you're just not going to be able to do anything for the first week or two?
I think it'll work. I think that there's going to be some interesting bugs that we're going to come across. Possibly some infuriating bugs. You put something somewhere and it just disappears. Like the system for kind of equipping your person. It looked like a 3D version of yourself that you dragged stuff from boxes that are on the screen onto your character. They're like attachment points kind of highlight. That looked like it might be a little bit of a finicky thing to do. And what happens if you go to drag and you let go and for some reason it doesn't attach? Does it go back into the inventory? Does it fall on the ground? I'm expecting to see bugs like that.
Yeah, I'm hoping that if you don't drag it all the way over and accidentally let go, it just snaps back to its original location.
Yeah, but if there's some sort of communication error where it thinks that it snapped onto the body, so your FS9, one of your many FS9s, doesn't actually attach to your back, it may not actually snap back into the inventory, right? Those are the things I expect.
And that's why I own 1,900 FS9s and 5,000 med pens.
Before the wipe.
So, Sage, have you guys over at AMR, you guys been keeping up on the medical and the inventory and all that's coming along here?
Yes, we have, and there's actually been a lot of discussions about it. And so, to the whole, like, is it going to be stable, or how is this going to impact gameplay? I think a lot of the concerns that I'm hearing from just within our own circle is, even if it works perfectly, I load up my ship with inventory. I put stuff in my body. I take off, leave my landing pad. I'm getting ready to head out on a great adventure, and then 30K. Okay,
Yeah.
well now all the armor I just equipped is gone. The ship is gone. All the stuff that I loaded onto that ship is gone.
Yep.
And now I've got to repurchase all that, reload all my ship when I load back into the server instead of just launching and going. And similar for medical gameplay, there's a lot of times where like I'm stuck in the door, trying to get through an airlock, and okay, well I'm just gonna backspace and respawn. It's fine, I'll just walk back out to my ship. Well now I've potentially lost things. Yeah, hopefully I can get back there and like pick it off my own corpse. But yeah, it creates all the little bugs that I think we typically just go, it's fine, it's Star Citizen being Star Citizen, suddenly get compounded with the addition. All that said, there's also a lot of excitement about this sort of gameplay because it's more of what we wanted from the game since the beginning. Moving towards things like Death of a Spaceman.
Yep, and that's definitely been one of Chris Roberts' goals, to get it to this level of immersion.
Right, so it's definitely a double-edged sword here.
Yeah, and actually, Jay Skell and I, and even some of the people in Amarok Svang had talked about some of the same things previously, and especially with concern of Death of a Spaceman and the fact that, you've got these bugs like 30Ks and all that are going to affect these new mechanics coming in a negative way and add to the frustration, let alone the fact you get shot down by somebody, you're going to lose all that. But if you 30K, then there's no cause on your own part to make you lose all that stuff, but you're most likely going to lose it. So there's no process in place to offset that. Now, I will admit 30Ks are far less and fewer between than what they were 2 years ago or even a year ago, but it's still an issue that's out there. And even with medical, like you said, that's definitely going to play a fact, and your lootable corpse is going to be there. Even if you 30K, you get back in, you don't have the opportunity to go back and get your corpse because the server crashed. It's gone. So getting your stuff back is not even an option. And is it something we're going to just have to live with, or is it something they're going to have some kind of process to combat that? My opinion or my impression is you're just going to lose it. The video on the inventory, there's definitely some other questions that it brings up. And J-Skill, you brought up a good one about stacking.
Yeah, in those videos, when they were scrolling through the inventory, there were a lot of one med pens kind of hanging out, and if we can't stack, that problem of reloading your ship, especially for somebody like me who's interested in playing medical, in my mind, I'm going to have to bring along different either different med pens like the different types of drugs or whatever they're going to give for like refillables on the medical gun. Um, it's going to be a pain in the neck to have to drag one of those across, one at a time, because it didn't look like you could double click, you couldn't do anything. So if we were able to drag stacks, even stacks of 10, it would be nice.
Yeah, and watching that video, there was a part where they were going through and it was showing magazines for guns, and there was like 8 of the exact same magazines, so it didn't appear where it could take one slot and just change the quantity on it.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting to see how they do that.
Well, and I've thought about it, and they may be doing it just because this is just step one in trying to get the cargo refactor and physicalized inventory going. It may be that stacking isn't a thing in your inventory, but if you want to stack, you've got a crate, right? You have a crate of med pens, you have a crate of FS9 ammo, whatever, and you just carry it onto your ship. Maybe that might be why they're not doing it.
Very true. And then, of course, you also brought up the customization of your gun and all that with, because obviously you can, when you're holding the gun, you can interact on it and customize it right there in your hand. My take on the customizing of the gun, where before we did in the Moby Glass through the weapons slot, it seems like it, and again, it comes back to the stacking. Are you going to be able to take a component, say a different sight or telescopic sight, and stack that onto the gun and have it properly place it? Or are you just, because obviously you're not going to be able to put anything on the gun that you don't have with you, whether it be in your personal inventory, your ship inventory, or whatever. Are you going to have to equip the gun and then customize it in hand and then get into the firefight? Or are you going to be able to set it up, through the inventory before you equip it?
And that's, when I was thinking about that, I was going through the differences between the way we do it today through Moby Glass and, what I was seeing in the video, right? So it's just like your multi-tool, like tractor beam, cutting, mining, and now we're going to have medical. Like, where is it that we set that up? Because I'm used to doing it through the Moby Glass.
Well, yeah, because you're going to have the Gray Cat multi-tool medical attachment. You're going to have the Cure Life gun, which I would imagine is going to have to take some type of refill or something like that. So you're going to have to be able to equip all those.
Yep. We'll see. I was just going to say one other thing. Some of the stuff I read the forums a lot, and a lot of the complaints I've seen are around, why is it drag and drop? Don't we have this? Like, there's a lot of complaints about just what they saw in the video as far as speculating on how painful it's going to be to manage inventory. And I think losing some focus and some sight on the fact that this is a good change. This is this is step one. I was thinking the guys that were complaining about having to do the drag and drop, what are they going to do when everything is truly physicalized and they've got to hand load that cargo ship?
Oh, yeah, 576 SEU onto a Caterpillar without a tractor beam?
Yeah. Or with a tractor beam. It's going to be a pain.
So, Sage, other than the loss of a ship through 30K or destruction and losing all this stuff, what else has been going around AMR as far as the changes with medical and inventory?
So the discussion about medical has been, as primarily a mining and salvaging organization. Um, basically who's going to be the medics? Because we know that things happen. The verse is a dangerous place. People are going to fall off cliffs and break their legs. There's going to be, even when just doing, some cave mining or something. And how are we going to build that infrastructure? Because a single person going down, um, there's old theory about combat. Like if you wound a soldier, it takes three people to fight because there's two people who have to care for that soldier now. Um, it sort of creates the same logistical concerns for a mining operation or a salvage operation. Someone gets hurt, now multiple people, or at least one other person, possibly multiple people, are being taken out of the team to provide services for them. So one thing we've actually discussed was, this is kind of my role as the kind of outreach director, was we need to find people to partner with who, are dedicated to the medical gameplay, and have them, as part of our team supporting our operations out there in the verse, as well as growing an internal capability that allows, some of our people to kind of cross train into that, almost field medic role.
Yeah.
I'm kind of using like military analogies here, but I think it kind of is applicable to the situation.
Oh yeah, it definitely fits. I mean, because if you look at it with the changes that are coming, it's not as easy as just taking a Cuddy Red with you everywhere anymore, because a Cuddy Red is not going to respawn you. It's only going to heal a minor injury, get you stabilized enough to where you can get to a hospital or something like that. And when you're running mining, like you said, things happen. People fall off cliffs, they overcharge a rock, it explodes, it damages them. You're going to have those medical tools to be able to get them through a little bit of it, but eventually you're going to have to get them to a higher tier medical bed. So the question comes down to, okay, instead of just taking a Cuddy Red with us, do we now need to make sure we have a Carrick or an 890 jump where they can heal those moderate injuries that are not quite life threatening yet? And that's always going to be available, that they can set their spawn on there and respawn on those ships should something happen to them during the operation. So are you guys looking at changing up your kind of strategy with trying to have a higher tier bed with you, or do you think you can make do with just using a Cuddy Red and the level ones or
So
miners?
our flagship is a Carrick, the AMRS Last Stardust. And so she's been out with a lot of our operations, especially when you start doing like rock mining or cave mining.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all kind of incorporated into our TTPs. So it does. Um, it's not really much of a change. So we already have that capability, and we're used to exercising that. Previously just for, hey, if something happens to you, here's a place you can respawn. Um, but the Carrick, again, voted for the cargo, but love my Carrick. I think it has a lot of capabilities, and I think with this gameplay, you're going to see a lot of people clamoring to, especially orgs that are doing larger operations, clamoring to have one in their inventory.
Yeah, and I know there was a lot of animosity about the changes with the Cuddy Red because that was the easy go-to for everybody. And with the changes, though, I think it fits the size and role of the ship with the changes that they're making to it, that it shouldn't be an end all be all, everybody can spawn back here thing. So I agree with the changes that they've been making to those levels of medical care on each of those ships. And you guys already got it covered then. If you're taking a Carrick, then you got that all set. You'll be able to deal with most injuries out in the field, no problem.
Yeah, and I think the role of the Cuddy Red is like this ambulance.
Yep.
It's providing trauma care for someone who's injured, stabilizing them, dealing with minor injuries. If I had if I was making a decision for CIG, I might have said maybe hold off on that change. Like I don't think it's a bad change. But maybe right now while we're still trying to, you know, work through everything, maybe as tier 0 or tier 1, we don't take that ability away from the Cuddy Red, at least until there's more other dedicated medical ships in the game, like the Apollo.
Yeah.
I mean, the biggest change though is, and this is what we were talking about before dark, like with a Carrack or the 890, the path to get out of the ship and back into whatever it was you were doing after respawning, it takes a bit, right? Because there's a bit of a commute to get from the bed to the outside, whereas the Cuddy Red, it's 2 beds side by side.
Yep.
You respawn on one and you run right off the damn ship and you're good to go.
Yep. So it'll be interesting to see how they do that. I think definitely spacing it out a little bit more would have definitely been good, because both, anyone by itself, but both of these together, there's going to be a huge learning curve of all these veteran players trying to get the new systems down, and there's going to be a lot of mistakes made. There's going to be a lot of death. So thankfully they haven't implemented the whole, pass your stuff off to your kin thing yet. But I'm expecting I'm going to be in a lot of trouble.
Well, I'll be flying a Cuddy Red around. I think flying a Carrack around for all of the stuff that we do might be a little excessive. It might be difficult to do.
Yeah, well, I can definitely say this. I'm not storing anything in any of my ships until I know they're going to survive for a while.
Yeah, same here.
Getting back to the inventory, I think definitely some interesting points here that you brought up here, J-Scale, as far as some of the other questions that come with medical, and that comes down to the starting point. One of the questions I know that you threw at me was the starting point of first login. Can it be changed? If so, how? And I think that that's going to come down to how we do it now. It's going to take a character reset.
Well, I was wondering if it would be a character reset or whether you would check in at like the genetics counter or office at the hospital. It's not open right now, but you can walk up to it and it has like little kiosks outside. So I was curious, or if that is truly just going to be where you manage, like instead of you getting 5 clones when they actually introduce Death of a Space Person, you can get 10 clones if you pay more.
Yeah, and I mean, that'd definitely be interesting if you do have that ability to change that without having to go through the character reset, because the character reset is such a pain in the backside. And there's definitely times that I've really wanted to change my spawn point, and you can't do it without that character reset. But if you could do it in game, that I think would be a great addition, and I think that's be something I'd like to see personally myself.
Yep.
I would hope it would be just like the setting your ICU now. Just walk up to a panel like like you said, the kiosk or something. Here, this is where I want to respawn from now on, or I want this to be my home station. Hopefully not something as dramatic as a character reset.
Well, I mean, it could turn into something if we keep giving Chris Roberts ideas, that it could be a gameplay loop where you have to hire 2 guys in a truck to actually go to New Babbage, pick up all your stuff, and move it over to Loreville, and that'll reset your point.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you're going to need like a space U-Haul to move all your junk.
Helio can use his Carrack to move people around, for relocation services. So some other questions that are there is, obviously we talked about the management of the weapon accessories with the medical guns as well as the regular armament and how that's going to all work. And that'll be interesting to see how we're going to be able to do that, whether we can do it in the inventory by drag and drop and stacking, or if it's going to be something that we're going to have to do once it's actually in our hand. And another factor with the medical, and we talked about this a little bit last week, J-Scale, and I'm not sure if you guys had talked about it, Sage, the new drugs coming in and the 5 different levels of drugs for treatment, and being able to know what drug treats what injury so that you're not hurting the person instead of helping them. Were there any input from AMR as far as how they're going to handle, that, as far as you talked about looking for medical gameplay loop players? Is there going to be a lot of confusion on that side, you think?
Actually, I think that was kind of the terminus of the conversation on the complexities of medical gameplay, is that this is going to be something that people dedicate themselves to. You know, there may be a certain level where anyone can be simply trained to perform the first level, but once we start getting into multiple drugs, knowing how to identify the injuries, that's a different level of training, and it's going to require someone who's dedicated to that gameplay loop. Not necessarily that's the only thing they ever do, but like it's going to take a time investment to learn that gameplay loop and learn it well.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because of course there is that aspect that somebody's got a broken leg and you give them, the hangover cure instead, they're going to end up dying because you gave them the wrong stuff. Or obviously we saw that there's going to be an overdose mechanic as well too, which is going to put people into a drunken state.
And I plan on, practicing frequently with Dark, since he's so accident prone. So I think I'll get up to speed fairly quickly.
Probably fairly quickly. And just remember, after I go to Wally's bar, make sure you use the detox pen before I start to fly. Because
Well, that's one of the open questions I do have, and I'm obviously we're not going to know here, but I've heard people reference that you'll be able to mix drugs in the actual Cure Life medical gun tool, whatever you want to call it. So each dosage of drug that you put into somebody, it increases their blood drug level, but there's also an alcoholic component to it that causes the overdose. So, with somebody who's skilled, can they mix up a cocktail that also includes the detox to help
yep. Well,
remove side effects?
my question on the detox, because we know if you take an overdose, you go into a drunken state. But if you're already in a drunken state and you take the detox, but yet you take too much, do you just stay in a drunken state, or do you get into an even more drunken state and go ahead and black out?
That would be fun.
So that would require the bartenders actually bringing my drink.
Yeah, within 20 minutes, of course.
Yes.
I was just gonna say I've never actually gotten one to give me a drink. I get the "I'll be with you in a minute," and I just stand there staring at him.
Yeah, I remember it was in the PTU for 3.14. Myself and one of the other leaders from an allied org of ours, one Orison, and we stood there waiting for our drinks for like 10 minutes, and then we went down to the little 7-Eleven equivalent downstairs in the mall. Got us a couple of beers and brought them up, and the bartender was still there waiting, like to take our orders where we left them.
Well, you must not have been a big tipper.
Yeah, I mean, I usually tip well. I don't know what the problem was.
So, of course, other questions we had questions on the breaking a limb and whether a med pen would be enough to get you out of the prone lock. That'll be interesting to see. I would like to think that, a quick treatment or at least maybe the pain reliever will get you out of the prone lock to get you on board the Cuddy Red. Is my hopes for that. Broken arms, broken legs, and at least get you in a little better state. And of course, the broken limbs, will they prevent you from triggering the ship enter animation? Which, as long as you're in the right position, I don't see why that should be too much of an issue unless you're just flat on the ground and can't reach it.
Yeah, well, that's what I was wondering. Like, if you're in prone lock because you have a broken leg and you manage to crawl up to your gladius, can you actually trigger it, and will it actually haul you up in?
Yeah, and I know crouching, when you're almost flat, you can still trigger the animation in the Freelancer. You can also trigger it in the Prospector. As far as all these changes that are coming up, anything medical or inventory else that you guys are concerned with?
We're gonna have the ability to put provisions on our ships. Like, can I buy a bunch of water bottles and put them in my local inventory, and then move them to my ship inventory, and then anyone on my ship can get water bottles when they're thirsty? Because I've been literally in the middle of a meeting with several different orgs. And we've been sitting around the conference table of, I think it was a 600i or the 890. One of the two. And people started dropping out because they didn't have water and we were in the middle of space. That would be a huge benefit. Like, if I could just have, food and water when I have, like, walk-in refrigerators, like, I feel like I should be able to have that in my inventory.
Just sitting there having a meeting, people just start dropping dead. So, other than that, so that seems to be about the major concerns and everything. And now we will move on to the big elephant in the room. And this was the one that kind of caught, well, some of us had been expecting it was coming, especially with the new notices when you're logging into the game. That started in 3.13, so everybody's been speculating that it's been coming down the line. But some people really kind of reacted like they're shocked that this is a thing. With 3.15, they did announce there will be a full database wipe, and there's been a little confusion from looking in-game chat as to what this means. Now, if you read the release by CIG in the Spectrum, a full in-game database wipe is going to consist of pretty much anything you bought with AUEC and all your AUEC. So that means armor, guns, ammo, your ships, anything that you got with AUEC, your hacking chips, your med pens, all of it. So everybody is going to get wiped. They're going to get wiped down to their starting AUEC and their pledge items only. Now, I will give them credit because they do know that everybody kind of really got onto the Xeno threat thing. Everybody, toiled away at trying to get the highest reputation they could with that to get the rewards for it. And they do recognize that doing a wipe rate after that's kind of, well, excuse my French, a dick move after earning all that AUEC. So they are working on a system to go back and post-wipe reward those that participate in the Xeno threat with an additional amount of AUEC above and beyond their starting amount, but yet no information yet as to how they're going to determine who's going to get what amount, how they're going to determine if it's just going to be a blanket amount for everybody or if they're going to base it on your level of participation and reputation. So definitely keeping an eye out for more information on that. But I do have to give them credit that that's actually a good thing to do. But there's really, surprisingly, the kind of mentality on it and kind of the reaction to it is shockingly more positive than negative that I've seen. You guys been seeing?
I was gonna say a lot of people are looking forward to the wipe. I would just one thing of clarification in that release they talked about there are 3 components to the I'll say to the player portion of the database, and it was wallet, it was reputation, and then it was your items, yeah. And so just the Delphi app, the reputation will be reset to 0 for folks, so they'll have to reclaw their way back up. So,
yep, and
I'm looking forward to it. I'm fine. I'll lose my millions that I earned during the first Xeno threat and all the mining I've done and whatnot, but whatever.
What's the reaction around AMR there, Sage?
So I'll start for me personally. So because I'm slated to lose probably about 60 million in ships, about 120, 130 million in Alpha UEC, an unknown number of items and things, and I can't wait for it. I do appreciate that they're addressing that. People who worked hard during Xeno Threat, made easily a couple million.
Oh yeah,
running it, and had that reputation with the CDF. That they're looking at a way to try to post wipe restore that.
Well, at least the AUEC. They haven't said anything about restoring the reputation.
Right. And I mean, the reputation. To me, all they should do is just can you run Xenothreat again? Because I love Xenothreat.
Yeah, I think we're going to see Xenothreat become like a once a quarter type thing.
Sorry, the other thing I'll say about the wipe, and this is kind of again, my fingers crossed, feeling hopeful, is a lot of the character issues seem this, include this recent Alpha UEC bug, which affected a lot of our members.
Mm-hmm.
In both ways, like gaining money, then losing money. I'm hoping that this wipe will kind of smooth a lot of that out. And with the new system that they're implementing with the inventory and the items and separating out it different, your reputation from items from currency, that hopefully going forward there'll be less interruptions, less major glitches that are kind of game breaking to your longevity.
Yeah, and I think we actually have two sides to this wipe. And obviously with the release they said that the biggest factor in it is the personal inventory. And I think that comes down to because of the replication glitch and the money glitch. The money issue started back in 3.12, obviously, with the replication issue, with being able to sell commodities and all that stuff, to where, like you said, you could continually hit the button or store your ship while you were trying to sell it, and it would just keep replicating the ship to trillions and trillions. And that really just destroyed the economy. We saw mining affected for quite a while, where you couldn't even sell any of your refined ore. Also, cargo trade has just tanked to nothing because you can't buy or sell.
Yeah.
And I think that they've been trying to make steps. We know there's a cargo refactor coming down the line somewhere, but I think this is the first step in it. But that's the second part to this whole reason for the wipe, is because of the personal inventory. Everybody owns so much stuff now that's beyond what they ever intended. I mean, again, I'm a culprit. 1900 FS9s, 5,000 med pens. I've got probably two 890 jumps, and I've just got so much stuff in my inventory that if they try to retain all of that stuff and move it into a personalized inventory slot, one, is going to far exceed any limit they put on it. And two, it's going to break the mechanic in the fact that it's not meant for people to own that much stuff. And so they had to wipe all your personal items. Well, on top of that, the fact that everybody has so much money, there's very few people I come across that don't have at least a few $1,000,000. And that, again, all stems from that replication, all the money glitches in the last few patches. And now that they've got those patched up, let's wipe the economy, get it straight up. And I think that we're going to see, I'm hoping we're going to see a little bit of improved performance, because the database is not trying to track all that different gear for each individual player on the server, as well as a little bit more stability in the fact that the money mechanics is just not breaking the entire economy across the whole verse. And we might even hopefully get some resurgence in cargo trading, where you'll be able to buy and sell some items without it being one SCU at a time, and you're lucky if you can sell an SCU once per hour when you take it somewhere. Right. Now, I don't think it's going to fix the database. Obviously, the cargo refactor is still going to be needed, but to wipe out that leftover just crud that was caused by all those bugs that gave unlimited money, I think it's a good place to go, and I think it's definitely needed.
I fully agree.
Of course, not everybody shares our view. I know for Amarok's Fang, it's been extremely positive. Everybody has been on board. They want the wipe, because there's a lot of people that want to get back to the other stuff. Now, as far as, because of course I did the video when this was announced, as far as discussing what the wipe is, what it means for everybody and all that, I got about 100 comments on it. And the comments in general, I would say 98% of it are along the lines of what we're saying. It's all very positive. People are ready for it. CIG originally said a quarterly wipe was probably going to be expected. Now they've gone 18 months. Most everybody here is very, very happy about it. Now, I would expect that probably the people that are going to be the most concerned about it are probably going to be new players, because obviously if you've been in this game for over 18 months, it used to be you wiped every month or every other month any single patch that came out, whether it was a 3.7, a 3.7.1, 3.7.2, or 3.7.3. You wiped, no matter what. You
Sometimes hotfixes wiped.
What's that?
Sometimes some of the hotfixes would wipe.
Yeah, exactly. So there was no expectation you were going to ever keep anything until they brought in long-term persistence, and that came in with 3.8.2. So I think a lot of the more, I guess you would say, salty comments, I would anticipate come from newer players that aren't familiar with the way that it used to be. And they're not overall mean or anything like that, but like one person opinion is that it's a cash grab. It's a cash grab that people are going to get wiped so that they lose all their stuff, and they're going to go out and they're going to pledge the ship so that they don't ever lose it again in the future. My feeling on that, if that was the case, then they'd be wiping just like they used to every month, every other month for that fact. And that's this comment here about just being cash grab. He had some other interesting points of view, which I can't fault him for having a difference of opinion with me, but very, very polite person. He mentioned down here as to how it's going to dissuade newer players. He mentions that, obviously it's not going to fix the back end and the servers, and they're going to stay just as bad as they are now, which I disagree with. And they're going to come up with more excuses for more of this and more wipes, which, again, they've proven that that's not their goal. And that most of the people he plays with no longer play. He says that down here. But really just kind of looking at it as their way of wanting more money. And that really strikes me as somebody that really hasn't been in the game for very long.
Yeah, so, and I disagree with this person. I do appreciate that they were being polite about it. I feel like there's sometimes with this game, there's a little bit of saltiness. Sometimes very old players, sometimes from newer players. I do think there will be some newer players who, hey, I just got into this game, a month or 2 months ago, and I worked really, grind really hard, and I went from my, little Mustang, and I was able to, work until I bought my Prospector, and then, I bought my Caterpillar from the proceeds that I got from mining, and now this is going away. What? I don't understand. I can see that happening.
Yeah.
But I think that the way CIG explained it, if you're a kind of a informed player at all, you understand why it's happening. And again, when, as you pointed out, when this was originally announced, hey, there still is going to be wipes, but we're going to try to have some persistence. The original projection was every 4 months.
Yeah.
And we went 18 months without a wipe.
Yeah. And actually, the point you made is exactly the point in the commenter's comment is the fact that people with just starter packs and only 10,000 or 15,000 AUEC, in their mind, there's no, and one comment he said is gameplay loops are going to be made much more difficult to earn AUEC, which I don't see it as being made more difficult. If anything, they've made gameplay loops easier to earn AUEC, but they're returning them back to the way that they were supposed to be. When I first got in, if you did bounty hunting, granted, you could whip through bounties really quick. You didn't have to worry about the certification. You'd start at a series of 5 bounties. You'd start with the first one at about 2,000, work your way up to where you're taking on a hammerhead and you pocket 10,000. And then after grinding, going through, 4 or 5 loops of that, after a couple hours, you might be close to 100,000. Now you can go mining even with a rental ship and use the standard laser, get yourself some, lower price of fast night or something like that, and you could easily pocket 100,000 in an hour and a half, as long as you're willing to wait for the refinery job. So I think they've made it easier. I think they're just losing sight of, or were never aware of the way it was, or losing sight of the different aspects of the game that will help you make AUC between joining orgs, renting ships, as well as, just doing simple box deliveries.
Well, one other thing though, it'll be interesting to see. When I first started, one of the things I did try was hand mining, going into the caves and whatnot.
Yeah.
And you could go out and you could hand mine with 315. Will we be able to take the stuff out of our backpack that we hand mined, store it in the ship, and go get more?
Yeah.
That was the limit before. Is once you filled up your inventory, you had to go sell.
Yeah, and
Now,
we've seen it with a rock. You can empty out the rock, put it in your ship, take the rock back out.
yeah, but will it be more stable now? That was the big risk. Was always, nobody wanted to. Most people that were looking to earn money did not want to take the risk of emptying the box out of the back of the rock, which they said is going to go away, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And store them on the ship while they went off and mined more because of the risk of a 30K.
Yeah.
So if we do find that our stuff on the ship, once it's in inventory, will survive a 30K, in most instances, then people might actually be able to make more money just hand mining. I think that there are gameplay loops that even if you have a Aurora or whatever as your only ship, that you can still earn money. It won't
Oh
be
yeah.
fast, but
Get yourself a multi-tool, go out and get some Hadanite. You can pocket quite a bit very quickly.
and box missions have gotten more. They pay more than
And
when I started.
easier because they're all within the same system.
Yeah,
So I think the potential is there. It's just you have to know where to look for it, and you have to open yourself to other aspects of the game to see where they're at.
yeah,
And I think that's where some people lose sight of it and everything is, and that comes down to the whole thing with people thinking it's a pay to win. No, it's not a pay to win because you're not winning anything. There's no end goal, final boss here that you're winning unless you're dead set on PvP and PvP only.
yeah,
It's about the experience of exploring, doing the different things and all that. And yes, as backers, we get ships, and some ships are better than other ones, but it's like any other Kickstarter. If you go and do a Kickstarter and you contribute to the development of a product or a service or something like that, you're supposed to get something in return for backing their ideas and dreams. And in Star Citizen, it started as a Kickstarter. What they give us for backing the development is the fact that we get to keep that ship that we pledge. Now, it's completely up to everybody out there whether they want to pledge or not, but it's not a cash grab that's going in anybody's pocket. It's a cash payment that is pledging to give to the development of the game. We wouldn't be at the level that we're at in this game, which I would say far exceeds a lot of AAA games if it wasn't for those backers. So I don't agree with a lot of people as far as what they're saying with the wipe being a cash grab or that pledges and all that are pay to win. It seems very close minded to me.
yeah. You have a choice. You're not. Nobody's holding a gun to your head and making you pledge a ship that you don't feel comfortable pledging, or you can't afford, or whatever. The other thing though, for people that are just starting out or aren't interested in pledging ships, they can always join an org, right?
Yeah.
You can crew a mole with your org and get payout from that. I mean, there's a bunch of different things you can do.
Oh yeah, I mean orgs are great, whether it be AMR or Amrock's Fang or Tesseract or even Garden Interstellar. Orgs are an amazing thing to meet people to help you learn your way through the verse, as well as I know for us, many times people come into Amrock's Fang, we all chip in and help them out with anything that they're trying to get in game if we have it. If not, we'll lend them ours. And I think Sage, you said before, you guys lend your org members, ships that you guys have if they want to take it out and all that.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's as you're saying, what's a great thing about being a part of an org is that um, you don't have to have the ship. Someone else has the ship, and especially the larger ships. Like yeah, sure, a Carrack cost 600 and something odd dollars. And you can say, well, not everyone can afford a $600 ship, and which is absolutely true. But I own a Carrack, and you know what I need to fly my Carrack? Other people.
A lot of other people between the turrets and everything else.
Turret and just dealing with the, especially now with some of the new operator modes, like having 5 other people, including myself, on that ship at any given time. You don't have to go out and spend $1,000 on ships to enjoy the game. You might just have a Mustang, but you land your Mustang on top of the Carrack and come inside and run a turret, and then maybe fly off and do some mining and armor and tools that you can buy in game for what would it be I think it's like 8,000 right now. I'd have to check the prices again, but like 8,000 credits, and you can have a full set of the Pembroke armor.
Yep.
And the mining tool, or the multi-tool with the mining attachment.
Yeah. The other thing to remember as we go forward is, and a Carrack's a good example of this, you got the component workshop. Eventually, if you get into a battle or get attacked, you're going to have to repair components. You're going to need people on those ships to pull the components, repair them, and put them back. I mean, that's the whole nature of the multi-crew ship is you're going to need people on it, and you're going to need a lot of people.
Honestly, me personally, I would love to do the component repair. Like that actually sounds like a fun gameplay loop. As much as I love piloting and getting out there, slinging bolts. I would love to be part of that gameplay loop.
Oh yeah, definitely. As somebody that tweaks on my car all the time, I mean, definitely messing around with engine components and all that definitely appeals to me.
I have one final actually comment on this. Ties back into the new inventory system, the wipe, and subscriber flare. So one issue I do have right now, and I'm just going to use the glow sticks. Can't what they're called in the game.
Flares.
The flares. So I bought the flares in the subscriber store.
Mm-hmm.
I used one. Now it's gone. With the new inventory system, let's say I put on, some subscriber armor or something, take a step out of my spaceship and get domed by someone, and now I respawn back at base without my armor. Is that armor gone until the next wipe?
Well, we had actually
Probably.
Yeah. Well,
Right. I actually have a problem with, like, I can't, like, not to. I try to complain as little as possible, but like that actually kind of upsets me because that's something that if it would just respawn at my home inventory base wherever that is, like I just automatically get another set.
Yeah, well, we actually talked about that when they first brought up the whole medical thing and all that and the lootable corpses. And one thing that they did talk about in the medical video was some type of location or store, a subscriber, concierge, pledge store that you could go back to recoup those items. It was an idea that was on the table. They hadn't had great detail on it as to whether you just go there and you have to claim it or you have to go there and you have to pay a small amount of AUEC or something to get it. But they did mention having a store location where you'd be able to get those type of items back that are in your hangar on the RSI site.
Yeah, I think it was the USPU feature team when they were talking about the cargo refactor.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing that they mentioned about that special store would be that they might use kind of like a reputation system. Like if you are a subscriber, then you'd have the reputation. And I don't know if they're going to track to the level of, we all didn't subscribe from day one, so we might not have all of the stuff from when they first started handing out Flare, but the same thing for concierge. I assume they'll just have your reputation will be whatever your level is in concierge.
Right.
Way,
so you're not getting stuff you didn't actually get as rewards for concierge or subscriber. You'll only have access to the stuff you've earned.
Yeah.
So
Or
I won't
bought.
lose my top hat, is what you're saying.
No, if you lose your top hat, according to them, you'd be able to go to the store and recoup it.
I don't mind if I lose my top hat.
I never use the damn thing.
Sage, I want to say thank you for joining us. We greatly appreciate it. I mean, this is the first time we've had somebody outside Amrock's Fang join us, and it's been an absolute pleasure. I think you guys got some definite wonderful insights. I'd like to give the floor to you, kind of, plug away anything you guys got going on or anything about AMR that you'd like to tell. We actually spotlighted you guys on the first State of the Verse on the org spotlight, but I'll give you the floor and go ahead and tell anybody out there things about you and what you got going on.
No, I appreciate letting me come out. This has been fantastic. I enjoy doing interviews and just chatting with other people about the game. Definitely very passionate about it, and we have a lot of passionate members about this. A lot of people, very long-time pledges to the game in our org, and a lot of newcomers as well who just again love this project. So actually, what I'd like to talk about real quick tonight is something. It's a side project. AMR sponsors it. It is called the Joint Training Exercise Center, or JTXC. And the JTXC is a quasi-milsim training environment that puts on almost quarterly events that are set up like real-world, either military or like government training exercises. So we spend weeks, if not months, training up for these exercises, there's usually a instead of doing like 25 people on red team, 25 people on blue team, go out and kill each other. There is a complex problem that we give blue team to solve, and then we bring in a small cadre of opposition forces or op4 to basically confound their ability to complete that objective. Usually bring in some kind of hard pipe hitting PMC type groups to do that, and then everyone else is, the J is for joint, so it's multi-org. So you have people from sometimes, PMC, milsim groups, and then you have people like, AMR, a bunch of industrialists, who are all taking part, working together to solve whatever the problem is. For example, the next event we're going to do is called Operation Elegant Impasse. It is a suppression of enemy air defenses exercise. So blue team or blue force is going out with the intention to destroy a bunch of ballistas, probably a Nova tank, and maybe some other anti-air assets that are going to be deployed somewhere on Daymar. They've all got to work together to find those anti-air emplacements and defeat them together. Op4, gets a lot, usually a smaller group. In this case, I think they are half the size of Blue 4, but they have a lot of advantages. They're kind of part of the cadre of the JTXC. So in this case, I'm running the Blue 4 as their commander. The events are a lot of fun. They're definitely the training that goes into them builds a lot of camaraderie between the different orgs that take part in them. And then at the end of it, the thing that we really highlight that comes out is learn new ways to not only play the game but solve problems that might arise in the game at a later date. For example, how do you defeat a integrated air defense that has been established in an area? So, and the thing I really appreciate is that we get a lot of orgs that are they're not milsim, they're not PMC type orgs to participate and really, challenge themselves to go out and perform a mission that previously, they never would have thought of participating in.
Right. That
So,
sounds
that's
that actually sounds awesome, and definitely if there's anything you want me to put into the comments below to put out there for people who have questions about it or anything like that, just shoot me over the information and I'll include it in the comments for you. And definitely if you see these guys out and about, AMR, they're a good group of guys. They're not out to impede anybody, so don't fire on them. So because very likely Amarok's Fang may be around somewhere as well too. So, but they definitely got their stuff together, and now you guys are not specifically, but a large portion role play.
Yeah, so the way we like to describe ourselves is casual role play. When we're in Windverse and we're doing mining operations like with Amarok's Fang, you probably noticed we were using call signs and a lot of discussions that we're having between each other. We're kind of putting ourselves in the role of, I'm in a ship in space mining a rock. How would I behave if I was doing that? It's not so much like, people hear role play and they start thinking like, Dungeons and Dragons, like my level 36 warlock is gonna cast a magic missile. It's not that sort of role play. We just kind of immerse ourselves in the moment, in the gameplay, and try to take it seriously, but at the same time have fun with it.
So anything else going on with AMR that you want to plug or anything?
Not really at this time. Again, we're always looking for new people who want to come out and fly with us. We do not mind people who want to multi-org or just be affiliates with us. We call it our contractor program. So if people, they still want to be mainline one org, but they would like to be part of us and take part in our operations and events, they are welcome to join us as affiliates. We're not exclusive in that way.
Oh, that's awesome, because I know like we're multi-org faceted as well too. Many of our members are multi-org members, and we definitely encourage it. That's for sure. So definitely, I want to thank you for joining us this evening, though, Sage. It's been a great pleasure. Hopefully, you and maybe even some other members of AMR will decide to join in the future. And definitely, Jay Skell, thank you for all the hard work you put into this episode this week. I greatly appreciate it.
Always.
But that is going to be our show for this week, and we will be back on our regular schedule starting next week. And keep an eye out for that. And we will also be covering CitizenCon. Again, it's going to be digital and live. Depending on the schedule, it may be short coverages after each segment, or we may just do something at the end of the day for each day's worth. But keep in mind that October 9th is the date that that's going to start, and keep an eye out for those big announcements. We'll bring you anything that we hear. But thank you, everybody out there, for joining us. Hopefully you found the information all useful, and hopefully everybody is not as fearful as the wipe as they need to be. And we'll see you all in the verse. Have a great day.